Action.
Hello there, my name is Alejandro Miguel del Valle Reteguis, and I am a student at the University of Puerto Rico, Bayamón campus. Today, we will be talking about gun control. More specifically, I will be trying to convince the participants about my stance about this issue. My stance is that I am against gun control. I believe that we need weapons in order to protect ourselves and those we care about. Those joining me today are Ana A. Rodriguez, Georgina Rodriguez, Ricardo Noa, Marta J. Reteguis, Jose Enrique Noa, and my sister Monica, who's the camera woman. Now, before we begin, I would like to state the fact that I am not a gun expert. I only know a few things about guns, such as the 7.62 NATO rounds, the 45 ACP rounds, and I know a few guns, such as the M1911, the AK-47, the M15, N16, and others. The USA has a gun culture. Actually, gun ownership is an integral part of the American heritage. Gun ownership began even before the American Revolutionary War. We used to use guns to hunt, since in those days we couldn't go to Costco or Walmart to buy our food. We needed to go hunt, or we needed to own a farm. Now, during the American Revolutionary War, we obviously needed soldiers in order to fight, and that is the birth of the militia. The French armed the militia in order to combat the Britons. Afterwards, this became a sport. And in recent times, we have seen an even bigger boom in gun ownership due to the media. We see this in video games, in movies, and others. A few examples of this is the Avengers movie, Scarlett Johansson and her little P06 pistol. This is a shot from Grey's Anatomy where O'Malley is hunting a turkey. Here we see Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 with the main character using an M16 rifle. And here we see guns in the Olympics. Now, the Second Amendment. A few people seem to think that the Second Amendment does not protect you from gun ownership. But, and I quote, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Now, I would like to say that there are two versions of this, each one with commas on different places. Some people seem to think that it changes the meaning, but in actuality, during the USA versus Emerson case where he moved to dismiss the charges against gun ownership, the USA court actually approved of it. And they said that the Second Amendment does protect you against being discriminated for gun ownership. Now, this is part of the Negative Powers Constitution. What is a Negative Powers Constitution? It's where the people hold the power and we give that power to the states. Most of the nations from around the world actually don't have a Negative Power Constitution. They actually have a positive power constitution where the state gives the people a select amount of rights. That of course might have changed over time or might have not. But in the United States, it's a negative powers constitution, and that allows us to keep the Second Amendment. Now, I would like to say a quote by Edmund Burke. "The people never give up their liberties, but under some delusion." Some people seem to think that guns equals more crimes. The more guns there are, the more crimes there are. But that isn't actually the case. It is unknown what's the case, because guns do not increase crime, but there is no definite proof that they decrease it. It is unknown. All of the studies that have been made, all of the research has no conclusive evidence. They might make crime easier, but you could just as easily grab a knife and use it to kill people. So there are simpler ways to commit them. Also, the state of the economy has a lot to do with it. Because the poorer people are, the more desperate they become. And the more desperate they become, the more they're willing to do in order to get a few benefits. Here we see a few statistics on gun ownership. The USA has an estimate of 283 million guns in civilian hands, and that's not counting those that are unknown. What does this mean? This means that over 1/3 of the population in the United States actually use guns. Now, if it were true that guns did increase violence, then where are all the huge amounts of murder? Because actually it's proven, and you can search for it in FBI Gov, that crime has been going down and that gun ownership has actually been going up. Here are some statistics about things that kill more than guns. Gun control stats compare 10 big killers in the US, such as tobacco, medical errors, unintentional injuries, alcohol abuse, and others. Gun control is not the only answer. This is a tool. We the people are the weapon. What does this mean? It means guns do not kill people. People kill people. What do I mean when I say this? It means that we do not need to use guns to kill people. Like I said before, we can use nice little kitchen knives like this that almost everyone has it because everyone needs to cook. Or we can use, boom, pencil. Even something like a pencil can kill a person if you stab it in the right place. Proof of this is actually happened in China 2 years ago in the Kunming accident, where 33 people were killed and more than 100 people were injured. They did not use guns. In fact, all they did was grab this and just start slashing people. And that's how it happened. They did not need guns. Now, one of the biggest reasons we own guns is actually for self-defense. Imagine if you were to enter your house and you find someone, boom, right there. That person has a gun in his hand and you call the police. Maybe they won't pick up, maybe they do pick up, but they tell you to stay calm, that they'll be on their way. Problem is that on the best case scenario, it's gonna take them from 5 to 10 minutes just to get there. And on the worst case scenario, more than 10 minutes. Now let me tell you, a gun you only need to press a little button and the gun shoots. And that takes less than a fraction of a second. Now, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to wait until the police comes to get your body because you're dead? Or would you actually prefer to have a gun and defend yourself with it? Now, you could say that if you don't want that, then why don't you just buy an alarm? A house alarm. That is one of the biggest jokes in the world. Yes, a house alarm will tell you that there's someone in your house and it will communicate it to the police. But first of all, they're gonna have to call you first, most of the times. And afterwards, it's still gonna take the police 5 to 10 minutes. Not because they're inept, I'm not referring it to that, but they might run into traffic, there might be on a coffee break and it takes them a little bit to get to the car, you never know. And in all that time, you could get shot, you could have everything you have stolen from you. Imagine that, you have plasma TVs and all that, and they're all stolen and you have to buy them again. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to buy my PlayStation 4 again. It costs quite a bit of money. People say that, okay then, so you're just gonna have a gun, but what happens if that person has a gun? Well, I will take any advantage I can get. If that person has a gun, I want a gun with more ammo. If that person has a gun with more ammo than me, I want to have an assault rifle. If that person also has an assault rifle, I want to have a better assault rifle in order to defend myself so cases such as these don't happen. Now, summarizing some of the points, some of the reasons why we own guns. First of all, it's part of our culture. It began more than 300 years ago. We needed it to defend ourselves, to provide food for us. Afterwards, it became a major sport, and now it's even included in almost every big media, such as video games, huntings, and even the Olympics features a few shootings. The Second Amendment protects you. It is your right to defend yourself. Don't lose that right under some delusion that says that because you own a gun, you're gonna become violent and irrational and just shoot people. That's not the case. Normally, guns just stay in the attic and are rarely used. In fact, it's rare for someone to invade your home. The statistics, they don't matter. You cannot use one specific event as proof of what you're saying is true or not. Because there are things that happen on both sides. There are just as many cases that prove that guns kill people, or should I say people kill people with guns, and there are just as many cases of people being saved because they own guns. A few years ago, such as 4 years, a child, a 14-year-old boy, saved his family because he owned a gun, and there were 4 other people there who had guns. He saved his family because he had a gun. So you really can't use statistics in order to create such a definitive decision. Before I leave you, I would like to say this. Imagine if someone were to break into your house, you call 911 but are put on hold, and are told they will take too long to get to you. Imagine that because of your lack of weapons, you lost a loved one. Wouldn't you rather have a weapon to defend yourself with than to live the rest of your life thinking, had I owned a gun, had I not made such a foolish decision, that person would still be alive? Any society that will give up a liberty to gain a little security will deserve neither and lose both. This is a quote by Benjamin Franklin, a previous president of the United States. I hope that I convinced you all that what I'm saying is the correct thing to do, and that is all, folks.